I was sort of revisiting some of the turf I'd staked out on Nebraska. It was the mid-'90s. And while obviously there was boom times in parts of the economy, an enormous amount of people who simply fall through the cracks. Really, what's going on for the past 30 years since the Reagan administration, crushing the middle class and the people underneath. So this was a group of songs I wrote, kind of and it was also, well, let me just sing it. For 15 years, Lieben Song fought side by side with the Americans in the mountains and deltas of Vietnam. In '75, Saigon fell, and he left his command and brought his family to the promised land. Seabrook, Texas, and the small towns in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, it was Delta country and reminded him of home. He worked as a machinist, put his money away, and bought a shrimp boat with his cousin. And together they harvested Galveston Bay. In the morning, before the sun come up, he'd kiss his sleeping daughter, steer out through the channel, and cast his nets into the water. Billy Sutter fought with Charlie Company in the highlands of Quantry. He was wounded in the Battle of Chulai and shipped home in '68. There he married and worked the Gulf fishing grounds in a boat that'd been his father's. In the morning he'd kiss his sleeping son and cast his nets into the water. Billy sat in front of his TV as the South fell and the communists rolled into Saigon. He and his friends watched as the refugees came, settled on the same streets, and worked the coast they grew up on. Soon in the bars round the harbor there was talk of America for Americans. Someone said, you want 'em out, you gotta burn 'em out. And they brought in the Texas Klan. One humid Texas night there were 3 shadows on the harbor, come to burn the Vietnamese boats into the sea. In the fire's light, shots rang out. 2 Texans lay dead on the ground. Lee stood with a pistol in his hand. A jury acquitted him in self-defense. As before the judge it did stand. But as Lee walked down the courthouse steps, Billy said, my friend, you're a dead man. One late summer night, Lee stood watch along the waterside. Billy stood in the shadows, his K-bar knife in his hand, and the moon slipped behind a cloud. Lee lit a cigarette, the bay was still as glass. As he walked by Billy, stuck his knife into his pocket, took a breath and let him pass. In the early darkness, Billy rose up, went into the kitchen for a drink of water, He kissed his sleeping wife, headed into the channel and cast his nets into the water of Galveston Bay.